Sunday Surefire podcast. I'm your host, the commish. Joining me today is the co-host, Aaron Downtown Brown,
Hey, hey.
and the other co-host, Ethan Weaver.
Kamish, how we doing? Week one, let's go.
Week one, week one. Aaron, who's playing week one?
Oh, I don't know. How did this Kansas City hat and shirt get on? I'm not sure.
It's disgusting.
It's gross. Hopefully they do us just like they did last year and take a nice L on the opening game at home.
That's right.
I think the rest of the nation is rooting for that.
Yeah, they're still in the Super Bowl.
We gotta
Well, we didn't
give,
have we
get, we
didn't have
gotta
to
give you
spoil the
one.
ending of the
We
story
gotta.
to that story right out of the gate, but we did. So speaking of stories, we're rounding into a new chapter of the Sunday Surefire story with week one finally upon us. We are shifting over to a DFS model, so some kind of your traditional lineups where you're setting a roster based on a salary cap. We have multiple categories. We have our bullish buy category where we talk about high profile, high price studs that are worth paying the money to get into your lineup. We have our two deep segment where we talk about defenses, which one you should be putting into your lineup. And we have our pick six category, which is the under the radar, sort of like lower profile ish guys. Usually those players are $5,500 or less for if they're a quarterback, maybe 6,000 or so. Just guys that you can get in there a little bit cheaper into your lineups to kind of supplement some of those higher price guys that we have earlier on. And then, of course, we finish up with some scorching hot takes that I know everyone's really excited to get to. So that's our format. We're gonna get it going right out of the gate here. Bullish buys, bullish buys. Who's expensive this week, boys? Who we paying up for? Aaron, talk me into it.
All right. So for my bullish buy this week, this is gonna be my high dollar guy. I'm going no other than the best NFL player in the league, top 100. No, not Patrick Mahomes. I'm going Tyreek Hill for 8,700 against the Jaguars this week. So like Hill for a lot of reasons this week. First of all, like the over under, it's 49 points in that game. And it's crazy if you look at a couple of his stats or his betting odds here. He's actually favored for an anytime touchdown of minus 130 as a wide receiver. So it's one of the highest favored as a wide receiver. Usually the running backs get the highest odds. So I mean, Vegas, he usually can kind of follow Vegas in some of those areas. But yeah, Hill's favored for anytime touchdown. He's also favored for over 97 yards. But a couple other things just to know just about the Jaguars defense is last year they had over 5,000 snaps playing zone defense, which we know that they kind of got ripped apart last year in 2023. So they got a new defensive coordinator who specializes in press man defense. So I think it's a kind of a big change for the Jaguars to take on the Miami offense in week one. So I don't really think they have the corners to do that against Waddle and Hill. So I really like this matchup this week. I think it'll be kind of a shock to that scheme. So Tyreek Hill, week one.
I'm gonna jump in here with mine next because it just blended perfectly with Aaron's. I actually went with Jalen Waddle as my bullish buy. For a lot of the same reasons, high over under, new defense for Jacksonville. They're retooling. But they're not the only defense retooling here either. The Dolphins defense is also retooling in their own right. So I think it's a lot to ask for to cover the Jacksonville players on the other side. So I actually love this game for DFS. I love this game for betting purposes if you like a good over, like everybody does. And I went with a really balanced lineup overall this week. So Jalen Waddle is actually my most expensive player in my entire lineup at $6,300. So on the same theme, Aaron, I just wanted to save the money so I could build that balanced lineup, and I went cheaped out a little bit with Jalen Waddle over Tyreek Hill on my side. Ethan, what are your thoughts on us going with Miami guys, and who do you have as your bullish buy?
I'm in lockstep with you guys, but I have to give it up to Aaron. Tyreek Hill was my guy as well. I just think he's just such a safe player every single year. The highest, I believe it's the highest over under on the main slate on DraftKings. And the Dolphins usually start off on fire. They were third in points per game last year, and that's with them kind of tanking towards the end of the year offensively. And I just think they're going to come out on fire against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I do agree this is a very great game to hammer in DFS this week. But it was hard not to put Tyreek Hill in my lineup, and I was okay paying up because I do think there are a lot of values this week in week one.
There's never a bad time to have Tyreek Hill in your lineup. I don't think anyone's going to give you any too much grief about that. I just cheaped out a little bit for Waddle, but I think this week especially, there's a world where they could both pay off at their costs. But let's move in now to our two deep segment. This is where we talk defense. Ethan, start us off. Who you putting up the picket fence for this week? Who's gonna crush at their cost?
Honestly, this was a pretty easy decision for me. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going against our New England Patriots.
Who are they playing again?
the New England Patriots, who might have the best offense in the league. No, I mean the Patriots. I mean, I'll be surprised if they score a point this year. Never mind week one. The Bengals are hosting the New England Patriots, who are starting Demario Douglas, 6th-round receiver from last year. Jalen Polk, 37th overall pick this year, and KJ Osborne, a perennial wide receiver 3/4, and Jacoby Brissett at the helm. So I'm not expecting a lot of offensive firepower from the Patriots, not a lot of scoring. And I know you need to pay up a little bit at 3,800 for the Bengals. I just think the Patriots offense is just so anemic. It's so bad. They had trouble moving the ball in preseason against the Commanders 2s and 3s. So I'm expecting a big day from the Bengals defense. Unfortunately, this is coming from a Patriot fan.
It is unfortunate, but Aaron, you're on the other side of that spectrum as a Chiefs fan, living in your glory days over there. Who'd you go with for a defense?
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. I mean, I know that's one of our strategies, kind of try to target struggling offenses. So can't hate it, but I actually wanted to save a little bit money. Wanted to go cheap at defense. I know it's the beginning of the year, so going cheap at defense is kind of a risk sometimes, but I'm going with the LA Chargers. They're only 2,900 this week. They're playing at home against the Raiders. It's actually the lowest over under of the week on the Sunday slate. So I don't mind starting there with picking defenses. And then with Minshew starting, I'm kind of betting he's good for one pick. In fact, he did throw 8 interceptions last year when pressured or blitz in 2023. And let's face it here. The Chargers, here's the key word, if when healthy, have a pretty good roster offensively and defensively. Just if you look back the last 10 years, they never really had all their studs healthy at the same time. But at least starting off week one, they got Derwin James, Khalil Mack, and Joey Bosa. So I think they'll get enough pressure to give Minshew a little bit of trouble, thus forcing a few turnovers. So I went Chargers for 2,900.
Yeah, the price is not prohibitive there. 29, anything under 3,000, you're doing okay with. I just wonder if that with this Raiders offense is going to really try to chuck it enough to cause a lot of turnovers. Maybe you get them late if the score is not going in their favor. But I think both teams want to pound the ball, which probably leads into that low over under. So for 2,900, you don't need a whole heck of a lot. I'll say that. But those are just kind of my quick thoughts on that call out here. I'll give it mine here just to close this out in this category. I went with the Seattle Seahawks defense at home against the Denver Broncos, $3,400. So kind of the middle point between you guys. Just targeting a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, making his first career start. He's on the road where Seattle, as we know, is historically a tough place to play. And this Denver offense, as far as skill positions goes, I mean, Courtland Sutton's a nice player. Other than that, they don't have a lot really to bank on at tight end or wide receiver after Courtland Sutton. So I can see Denver falling behind early in this one and then kind of getting ugly in a hurry after that. This Seattle offense kind of has been slept on a little bit, but there is a lot of firepower on the offensive side between DK Metcalf and JSN and Tyler Lockett's still there, and Kenneth Walker is pretty good in the run game too. So Seattle, I think at home will play a little bit better and force Denver to throw the ball, and I think it could lead to some interceptions there down the stretch. Though, any thoughts on that, boys? Before we round into our pick six category.
I like that call a lot. Seattle is actually my second pick if I didn't go with the Bengals. So I picked up Seattle actually a lot in redraft for week 1, and they play the Patriots in week 2. So it's a good 1-2 punch to start the season off.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I like it
Hey,
as well. I mean, playing home and against rookie quarterback, that's some of our secrets here at Sunday Surefire.
there we go. There we go. Let's get to the real secrets that the people want to hear. Who are those cheaper players, guys, that you get into your lineup and they give you a lot of bang for your buck and make the difference between making money and not making money in week 1, Aaron? Who do you got?
This is funny. So, I'm gonna give a kind of a sneaky play here since Ethan and I both had a bullish buy for Tyreek Hill. Um, so I'm actually going Sam Darnold as my quarterback this week as a cheap play at 5,200 quarterback, and I just a little sneaky way of saying that I'm actually stacking him and Justin Jefferson this week. So it's a good way to kind of fit a couple studs into my lineup by going cheap at quarterback. And I just like Darnold week 1 against the Giants. I know they try to beef up their defense a little bit in the offense, getting Brian Burns, but if anything, I think that might force Darnold to scramble a little bit more, picking up a little bit of rushing yards. Um, but his over under is 230 passing yards. That's actually higher than Kyler Murray this week and only 10 yards under Josh Allen. So I think with Minnesota just starting off week 1 with facing the Giants, it's not as risky as a play as one would think. I mean, yes, if they're playing a top 10 defense, I wouldn't be going Darnold week 1, but I don't think the Giants scare me as much with Darnold in my lineup this week.
Ethan, what do you think about going cheap at quarterback in the form of Sammy D?
I mean, Sam Darnold, who knows how he's going to come out week 1, but he does have some pretty good offensive firepower with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They should have a decent run game with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. I think Sam Darnold will do just enough to keep that offense afloat. I don't think Darnold gives you obviously elite upside. I think I would rather just pay a few $100s more and just put Jay Daniels in my lineup. But I do understand with the stack, Jefferson and Darnold. I know Jefferson might be a pretty popular pick this week too. I mean, I think Darnold's just a lock into him. No TJ Hawkinson, and a guy like Darnold, he's probably going to lock into one of the league's best receivers. So I definitely don't hate it. Probably not a direction I would go, but I'm sure Aaron cheaping out a quarterback allowed him to bolster his lineup pretty nicely, though.
Yeah, I like the call in a cash game heads up against someone else because you can get more pieces, more high profile pieces in your lineup if you do that. Don't love it in a tournament play where guys who just have that quarterback that goes for 40. If you don't have it, it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball quickly. So I guess it depends on your format. This is our contest, I should say, are head to head between the three of us. So you could look at it like a cash game in some respects. So it's not a bad call. I'm actually a little higher than Darnold. If you saw my rankings on SundaySurefire.com/blog, a little higher than consensus on Sam Darnold compared to everyone else. So I don't hate it either. And for a low price point, you don't need a ton, 15 to 17 points. You'll be happy with that return that you get. But Ethan mentioned that you should be playing Jaden Daniels, maybe pay a little more for him. And I like that call because I have his number 1 receiver in Terry McLaurin in my lineup, playing against Tampa Bay. I cheated a little bit here, boys, in week 1.
Yeah, that is cheating. That's cheating.
$5,600, ever so slightly. But like I said, I have a balanced lineup, so I don't have any type of crazy deep call this week. And look, we've talked about McLaurin before on this show. We've been through the list of trash quarterbacks he's had to play with, and despite those struggles, he's posted 3 top 25 wide receiver finishes in his 5-year career. Jaden Daniels instantly becomes the best quarterback he's ever had to play with. I think that starts in week 1. I just think Terry should be in line for all the volume he can handle, especially after the trade of Jahan Dotson. There is no one else on this roster right away who should be taking volume away from him. So I think he gets it going. Tampa Bay, for what it's worth, last season ranked 25th against opposing wide receivers in fantasy. So wouldn't be shocked at all if that $5,600 price point that you can get him into your lineup for this week is the lowest that you end up paying for him any week going forward. So Terry McLaurin, F1, $5,600. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he's so cheap considering there's literally nobody else on the team to catch a football. I mean, their depth chart is lacking. I'm going to have Zacchaeus, obviously Terry McLaurin, and Noah Brown right now on their official depth chart, which is not great. But Terry McLaurin, I'm not a huge. I'm never high on him year to year because he's never been a wide receiver one. He's barely a wide receiver two at the end of the day. But I think this is the year he has a chance to break out. As Kamish said, he hasn't been getting a lot of help at the quarterback position. So I think this is a smash spot for Terry, and probably the cheapest you'll get him this year, just like you said, Kamish.
All right. Well, Ethan, keep talking. Who else should we be putting into our lineup for cheap?
So this is a guy that I've been talking about a lot this year. I'm targeting that Miami Jacksonville game again, and just going to the other side of the ball. Christian Kirk at his price point right now, 5,500, I thought was a no brainer. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are gonna have to chuck the rock to keep up with the Miami Dolphins, and Christian Kirk at this point in the season is their number one receiver. I do like Brian Thomas a lot, but he's a rookie. Gabe Davis, I mean, he had what 45 catches all of last year in 17 games with Josh Allen. He's not a high target earner. So it's basically Evan Ingram is his biggest competition for targets. I just think Christian Kirk is going to come out of the gate as Trevor Lawrence is number one, and they're going to have to come out of the gate swinging because they're going up against the high-flying Miami Dolphins. They're going to have to put up some points, and this is the highest over under the slate, like we said. So I'm very high on Christian Kirk this year, and I think he's going to go out with a bang in a week one.
Not to skip Aaron in the order, but Christian Kirk was actually my second pick six player. Aaron, is it a clean sweep, or do you have someone else for us?
It's not. I do like Christian Kirk. I was laughing. I got like 10 lineups this week, so I definitely know that Christian Kirk
that is the most believable thing Aaron Downtown Brown has ever said.
Yes.
That's right. But Kirsten Kirk is definitely I know at least in one of those lineups. Not in the one I'm playing against you guys with this week, but I do like Kirk. I do think it's going to be a pass happy game. So can't hate it there. But no, my second pick six player is actually my favorite play of the week. It's oddly enough the guy that I have in almost every daily fantasy lineup this week. I'm starting him even in fantasy as well, and he's a very under the radar guy. He's 4,100 this week. I'm going Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, it's your guy.
All right, it's my guy for week one. I'm very heavy with him. Like I said, I have actually I have 11 lineups. I think he's in like 9 or 10 of them. Honestly, that's how bullish I am with him
I like the way you
this week.
live, Aaron.
Yeah, so he's really my favorite play in the entire week. Kind of looking back, Minnesota had the second worst yards from the slot last year in 2023. They still have Brian Flores. That's really because he blitzes just almost every single play, right? So it's going to force Daniel Jones to kind of get the ball out quick, right where Wan'Dale Robinson lives. So they gave up one of the most yards last year in 2023. They also gave up the most touchdowns last year from the slot position as well. They gave up 12 touchdowns last year from slot wide receivers. So that's actually a crazy stat right there. So I do like targeting in this game, and I like the fact that yeah, I do like Neighbors this year, but I actually think it's a Wan'Dale Robinson game. I think Brian Flores is going to try to bring the heat in this game. So I'm really high on Wan'Dale this week.
All right, he's going with one of his dynasty stashes right out of the gate. Look at that, carrying over into week one. Attaboy, Aaron, like that.
That's right.
Like that a lot. Ethan, what else do you got for us?
Yeah, no, I like the Wan'Dale call, especially with them being weak in the slot, and I do think that he does have the talent. He just needs to stay healthy. I'm kind of I'm going with a player that I'm pretty high on going into this year. It's always tough week one. You don't know how some of these backfields are going to shake out, so that's why I feel like there's so much value in week one because nobody's really sure who is going to emerge. So I'm going to go with Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals for 5,000. I just think at 5,000 and with the running back position, I think he has all the upside in the world. Zach Moss hasn't played all preseason due to an illness. They're 8.5-point favorites against the New England Patriots, so I think they're going to be able to run the ball a lot against them as they are going to be up. And as I said, we don't know exactly how the split is going to be. The Bengals have been talking up Chase Brown all offseason. There's been a lot of smoke, so I'm hoping there's gonna be a little fire in week 1 for Chase Brown. So I'll take the chance. I'll throw the dart for 5,000.
Aaron, what do you think about that?
You know, I actually don't love it. I guess this is one where we won't have the kumbaya this week. I do like Chase Brown. I think he's a nice breakout player this year, but I don't think looking at the slot of games with Cincinnati being the highest favored team, I don't necessarily think Chase Brown is going to be is highlighted as much, right? I think it might be more of a Moss game, kind of running with them being up. So I think if Brown breaks out a couple runs, like if he's got like a 30, 40-yard touchdown, like obviously it'll pay off. But I'm not sure if the game script will call for Chase Brown as high as I would like to call him later in DFS this season, if that makes sense.
No, I understand what you're saying. I just don't think Chase Brown needs all that many touches to kind of break out in week 1 because he is that explosive. But he's not. I mean, he's not like this tiny little back either. He can handle the rock. And as I said, we don't know exactly what the split's going to be. We haven't even seen Zach Moss in the field yet this season, in preseason. So I'm okay taking the shot. Hey, if it doesn't work out, it is what it is. But I'm willing to roll the dice.
I like that call a lot in a tournament. Where
Exactly.
you need cheap upside, and I think he presents it for the reasons you mentioned. You made a good initially when you said Chase Brown didn't love it, then you made a good case for it. Playing New England, Zach Moss hasn't played a ton this offseason, so are they really going to give him 25 carries when they're up big in the game and kind of just beat his brains in out of the gate? I don't necessarily think so. So yeah, there could be some that could go well for him. So we'll see how that plans out. I think it's a good swing for the fences in a tournament. Definitely riskier in a cash game format. But that rounds out our pick 6 players. I guess it was a pick 5 this week where Ethan and I were in lockstep with Christian Kirk. Aaron, you should get him in more of your 11 lineups this week. Take notes, young man. But let's round it here. Let's keep going here with some hot takes, and let's do them, boys. Let's see here. Who do we got? Aaron, you're the king of the hot take usually.
Yes, he is.
All
Didn't quite
right.
live up to it last time, though. I'll say.
I know you got to come with some fire. Come on.
That's right. That's right. All right. So yeah, you're right. So I was a little rusty in the last episode we called out hot takes. I think I'll make you boys proud. So here it goes. So I'm gonna do a 3-leg Wandale Robinson parlay.
Oh boy.
All right. So it's 3 legs, all Wandale Robinson props. So I'm gonna put in an anytime touchdown for Wandale, over 3.5 catches and over 40 yards gets you a plus 600. So I'm gonna say Wandale comes down with a touchdown, just gets at least 4 catches and goes over 40 yards, which I think he'll smash that actually. So that's my hot take of the week is a 3-leg Wandale play.
What's the touchdown like? Plus 400, plus 350?
350 plus
Yeah.
350. Yep.
Okay, that's better. That's good. Plus 600 definitely qualifies as a hot take in my book. So, Ethan,
There
can
you
you
go.
beat that?
I'm gonna go with a player that my guy Christian Kirk. I'm gonna go with his breakout in week 1. I think he's gonna have 8 or more catches for over 120 yards and a touchdown and finish as a top 5 receiver this week. So like Kamish said, Aaron, get him in your lineups.
I like it.
There you go. And so the guy who's going to be throwing Christian Kirk the rock in a lot of these touchdowns is going to be Trevor Lawrence, naturally, who is also in my lineup. I'll say that, but that's who my hot take centers around. Just really honing in on this Miami Jacksonville all Florida battle that's going to be going down in week 1. But I'm sticking with Lawrence, who's going to throw for 300 plus yards and 3+ touchdowns. Gives you actually a little bit more of a bump than I thought in a parlay. It's actually plus 675. Putting those 2 legs together. So that's
Nice.
a nice little parlay you can put in there, get you off to a fast start in week 1 on the betting front this season.
And if you're really crazy, you'll combine that parlay with the Wandale Robinson play. That will really be talking.
Yeah, we'll definitely be cooking if we can get that one going. Maybe rope Christian Kirk into it while we're getting all wild and crazy
Might
there.
as well.
So, any other parting thoughts, boys, on week 1 before we wrap it up?
Just excited week 1 is here. It's been a long off season and thank God football is back.
It's
Yeah,
back.
no, for
It's
sure.
back.
Definitely, definitely back. We been putting in a lot of research, but very, very high on week one. I'm excited to kind of put been cooking up some downtown Brown stats over the years into a document that we might see later on this season too. So maybe some sneak peeks in a DFS playbook down the road.
All right, folks. You heard it. It's week one. We're here. We're back. And until next time, folks, peace.